and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about how to stay safe from grant scams. This is a big deal, especially for people living on a low income, because these scam offers are everywhere online. So if you are living on a low income, you might have seen or even received offers promising free money or grants, maybe through phone calls, unsolicited emails. Many, if not most, of those offers are scams. So in this video, we're going to break down the most common types of grant scams, how they work, and most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself and help avoid falling victim to those. So first of all, what is a grant scam? A grant scam is when someone offers you a grant or free money that doesn't exist. Scammers typically prey on people who are looking for financial help, like individuals struggling with a low income or people who are trying to get back on their feet. These scams may come in many different forms, but the end result is always the same. They take your money or your personal information or both, and they leave you empty-handed. Now, I have to tell you, this is why Low Income Relief never, ever, ever, ever asks for any personal information about you at all. I want you to know that our channel and our brand is something that you can trust, so we'll collect your email address if you want to subscribe to our email list, but we're never going to ask you for your name or your personal identifying information in any way, because it's not the way that we do things here. But a lot of other organizations are very different, right? When a scammer contacts you, they very often push for that information right away because that's what they're after. So let's talk about what this looks like in practice. You might get a phone call, an email, or see an ad on social media offering you a government grant that promises to help you pay your bills, start a business, or get out of debt. The scammer will make it sound very official, using phrases like, "This is a limited time offer," and "You've been specially selected." They'll promise you thousands of dollars in free money just for filling out a form, paying a small fee, or giving them access to your account. Now, it's very important, sorry, we're going to jump back to this really quick. It's very important that you understand there are legitimate grants out there that can help you with things, but they often have a lot of hoops that you have to jump through. I know we talk a lot about programs like LIHEAP on this channel, and that is a legitimate grant that you can get every year to help pay for your utilities, but it takes qualifying. There's a lot of qualifying requirements. You have to jump through the hoops of, the interview, the documentation, the income and asset eligibility, and so on. And you're going to do this at a very reputable organization like your Community Action Council. It's not going to be someone who just contacts you out of the blue and offers you cash with no strings attached, because that's not how any of this works. Okay. So if you are being targeted by a scam, this is generally the process that it's going to follow. They're going to reach out to you through an unsolicited method. This could be a cold call, an email out of the blue, a social media message, possibly even just like a social media post or an ad. When you're contacted by a scammer, usually they're going to be the ones that try to talk to you first. Whereas when you're applying for legitimate government help, you are going to have to chase that down because they don't make it easy to get. Now, the scammer may claim that you've been selected to receive money because you're a small business owner, a student, a single mother, a senior, or just somebody who needs financial help. But they're going to make you feel special and like you were handpicked for this opportunity. And then they're going to make it feel very, very urgent. They don't want to give you time to think. So they're going to say something like, "Oh, well, you have to respond by the end of the day. If I hang up, the offer's gone. Only a few grants are left, and we've already given out most of them. You need to do this now." And that high pressure tactic is designed to get you to act quickly without thinking it through. Because if they can get you to act before you think, you're not as likely to figure out what they're doing, right? Don't give in to that kind of pressure. Once they've got your attention, then they're going to tell you that to get the grant, you're going to need to pay a fee or provide sensitive personal information. They may ask you for a processing fee to unlock the grant or to secure your place in line. They may tell you that they need your bank account information so that they can deliver that payment to you. These are major red flags. Legitimate grants from the government or legitimate charities are never going to require you to pay anything up front. That's not how that works. And if they're asking you for your bank account details in a phone call where they contacted you first and you haven't had time to verify anything, absolutely never, ever do that. It never ends well. Okay? And like I said, another tactic that scammers use is asking for your bank account number, your social security number, sometimes your Medicare number, or other personal details. And like I said, they may claim that it's necessary for them to have that information so that they can deposit the funds into your account. But once they have that information, they can pull money out of your account instead. And that is not something that you want them to be doing. So you need to make sure that you safeguard both your money and your identity in these situations. So let's talk about some red flags that you should always watch for. Beware of anyone who contacts you over social media. This is super common for scammers, but there are no reputable organizations or government programs that are going to contact you over social media when you've won a grant. The government especially never, ever does this. Even if an organization announces their winners on social media, they will contact you directly at the phone number or the email address that you used on your application. Do not trust anyone who reaches out to you over social media. They also ask for money up front. No legitimate government program or organization will ask you to pay for a grant. If they do, it's a scam. Real grants never require an upfront fee. They claim that you've been pre-approved or specially selected. This is a trick designed to make you feel special and get you to act fast without thinking. Legitimate organizations do not randomly select people for grants. You have to apply through proper channels, and there's a lot of competition. You won't be told that you've been selected in advance. Grants are incredibly competitive. And if someone is telling you this, don't trust it. Right? The only exception I can think of to this is that we've seen an uptick in guaranteed income programs that are selecting clients of existing organizations to receive that money. This is something we talked about on the Low Income Relief channel recently. Now, in this case, you would be contacted by the organization you're already working with and someone that you already know who's already managing your case, right? So it's going to be very different than someone contacting you out of the blue from an organization you've never heard of, claiming that you've won a grant that you've never heard of, right? Those are very distinctly different things. But I wanted to explain that just for clarity. Okay? Now, scammers also pressure you to act quickly. Like I said, they have to make you feel like it's urgent because if they give you time to think, you're probably going to realize what's going on here. So they want to pressure you to make that decision very quickly. So if you're feeling high pressure, you hang up the phone. You don't respond to that email. You don't engage with that person because they're trying to compromise your ability to think clearly. And again, they ask for personal information right away. Never, ever, ever reveal your social security number, bank account details, credit card numbers, etc. to someone who contacts you out of the blue. Never a good idea to do that. And if someone is pushing you aggressively for those details, you can be sure that it's a scam. And another thing to look for is clear contact information. If they don't provide clear contact information to you, that is a huge red flag. A legitimate organization will provide you with a way to contact them, whether that's a phone number, email address, website, preferably all three. If they don't, that is a problem. And another sign of a grant scam that we see pretty often is they're not clear about how the grant works. Scammers often have only vague explanations about how their grant works or where the money comes from. They'll say very vague things like, oh, it's from a government program, without telling you what government program. What agency is in charge of this? What department funded it? Is it taxpayer funded or private funded? Scammers hate it when you ask specific questions. They will usually hang up on you or stop responding or maybe even yell at you if you ask too many questions because they know that you're starting to unravel the scam. On the other hand, a legitimate grant provider will always be transparent about the details. They can tell you where the money came from, who is eligible, what the criteria is, and so on. Okay? Now, another red flag, of course, is that the offer seems too good to be true. As the saying goes, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Scammers often promise huge amounts of money or make it sound like there's no catch, no strings attached. Everybody's eligible. You can do whatever you want with it. That's all bogus. Real grants are based on eligibility requirements and they aren't easy to come by, okay? And grants are usually designated for very specific things. All of the grants we found on our channel, aside from the guaranteed income programs, are designated for specific purposes like rent or utilities or medical expenses and so on. If someone is offering you thousands of dollars to spend on whatever you want, that is a major, major warning sign, okay? Please be very careful. Now we're going to break down a couple of different categories of grants, right? These are areas that we've seen a lot of scams pop up in, and we're going to try to give you some actionable tips here to help you stay safe. So if you're looking at government grants, which is probably the most common type of scam that targets the low income relief audience, unfortunately, this is when scammers pretend to be from the government. They claim you've been selected for a government grant, but to receive it, you're going to need to pay this processing fee or give your bank number or whatever. We've already talked about how the government's never going to ask you to do that, right? But I want you to watch for these red flag statements, okay? Great news, you're eligible to receive a government grant. Government doesn't use that kind of language, ignore that. For a small fee, you can obtain a government grant. No, that's not how that works. The Federal Bureau of Grant Awards has awarded you an $8,000 grant. Again, not how that works, and that bureau doesn't exist, okay? Sometimes scammers will tell you, oh, well, this type of federal grant does not require an application. Again, that's bogus. They totally do. I am not aware of any federal grant that does not require an application. Okay. Or they might say, you won the government grant in a drawing. Again, not how that works. Also, how could you win a drawing you didn't enter, right? Don't believe this stuff, guys. And then again, of course, the final line there is, you've been awarded a federal grant that you can spend any way you like. No, federal grants always are designated for specific things. Okay. Now, you might also see a lot of business grant scams. This is very common for small business owners, and it's heartbreaking when people are trying to start a business and dig their way out of poverty only to have these thieves and charlatans come in and try to deceive them this way. There are a lot of excellent programs out there that are real and true and do honestly help support small business owners. Things like SBDC. That's a free service that can offer you business coaching and help you connect with legitimate resources. Even our sponsor Skip has a great database of legitimate business grants, and you can get started with that at lirlinks.com/skip. They even have AI tools that can help you with those applications, make it really easy to get those grants. But they're not real legitimate business grant resources are not going to deceive you in this way. But you need to be careful that you're working with a trusted, vetted resource when you're looking for business grants, because we have seen so many aggressive scams out there targeting small business owners. Okay, another big gray area here is educational grants. A lot of scammers like to target students by offering free money for school, scholarships, grants for tuition, and so on. And they sometimes even have very official looking applications for these. And then they charge you a fee to apply. Please be cautious if you're applying for scholarships and grants. Be very wary if you have to pay up front. Always verify the legitimacy of that organization before sharing any personal details. Remember that you can apply for the federal Pell Grant at fafsa.gov. You can also contact your educational institution for additional grant opportunities. We have a list of scholarships on our website that we've vetted, including the Sir Optimist grant that happens every year. But just be careful if you are just Googling this, because sometimes there's going to be a lot of scams that pop up there. And then, of course, you have your general grant scams, right? And these you're going to see in really stupid areas. You're going to get these in your email. You're going to see them in YouTube comments. You're going to see them on social media ads, on links in random posts that have nothing to do with the grant. They'll just post spammy comments. Please don't trust things that you see in spammy comments, no matter how enticing or good they may sound. On this next slide, I'm going to show you a screenshot of some of the comments that we have filtered off of the low income relief page. These are comments that never posted because our moderation team has our settings locked down very tightly to prevent these sorts of things from showing up in our comments. Some of them still get through, but we do our best to keep them off the channel. Right, so you're going to see here we've got comments from all sorts of different users saying things like, oh, I received a 6,000 veteran grant. It's a small amount, but it feels great. We hired a grant specialist. Their goal in posting this comment is, we've actually seen this. They have bots that will reply, oh, who did you hire? Oh, this person on Instagram. Okay. And then all of a sudden you've got like 20 bots in there talking to each other about this grant specialist. And the goal of this comment is obviously to lure our viewers into contacting this grant specialist so that they can apply for these grants, which you notice they did not name. And that's why we block these, because I don't want anybody being duped by this. Whoever they're going to try to endorse as this grant specialist is just going to take your money and run. These are just scam comments. They're terrible. And then I noticed this week, we just had an absolute flood of this $30,000 holiday grant scam. All of a sudden, we've got dozens of people talking about it, except their comments are all almost identical, right? And what holiday grant? Why aren't they naming it? Why aren't they saying where they got it or what program it was, right? This is not, these are all red flags of a scam here, that they are, that they're just being so vague about it, right? And then you see again here, we have just been awarded the $30,000 Christmas grant from the funders. The funders, right? Who? What program? And you see, notice this is also community workshops, and we saw that up here too. Like, this is just scams. Scammers. And again, here we have 30,000 Christmas grant from the funders. Now, and that's, yeah. Anyway. Not a lot of YouTube channels actually moderate their comments, right? We hear all the time from people who have found our channel after watching other creators, and they're kind of surprised because sometimes like we can be very aggressive with our moderation. We have hundreds of blocked keywords that will automatically filter comments from appearing on our channel just because we have tried so hard to stop this kind of abuse in our comment section to protect you guys. But if you see this, whether it's on our channel or a different channel or on a different social media platform altogether, please be very cautious. Do not take the bait. It's so dangerous. It's just so dangerous. So let's talk about some ways to protect yourself. Okay. So first of all, don't pay upfront fees. No matter how enticing the opportunity sounds, do not pay upfront fees to get a grant. Don't do it. Walk away, report it, ask us about it, call 211, ask them about it, contact a social worker or an advocate or a patient advocate if it's a healthcare thing or whatever. Get somebody to try to verify that for you. Do not just blindly pay somebody money in the hope that they're going to give you more money back. That's generally not how that works. Okay? Vet the source. Always verify the legitimacy of any organization or offer. If you receive a grant offer, research that organization online, look for reviews, ratings, complaints. Make sure their contact information is legitimate and not just a generic email address or phone number. I have to tell you guys, they can spoof phone numbers now. So just because they're calling you from a phone number that looks like the IRS, Medicare, or another government line doesn't mean that's really where they're calling you from. And anybody can write a letter with a fake address on it too. I know I had an issue a couple of years back when we lived in Utah where I was getting letters that looked like they were from an official government agency, but they clearly were not. And I called that number 3 different times. And every time I asked certain questions, they just hung up on me. And I started to get suspicious. And so then I called the actual government agency and they requested that I send the letter to them so that they could analyze it because it had the official government seal and everything. And I tell you, I researched this stuff for a living, guys. There's no way I should have fallen for that, but it was very, very convincing. So even if you get something that you think is very, very real, go look up the contact information for that organization separately. Don't blindly trust the phone number in the letter. Look it up on your own and reach out to the real organization and ask them specifically, because I cannot tell you how incredibly convincing and dangerous and scary these scammers can be. Okay? Here's another big one, and I know this one is hard. Do not click on links. I hate telling you this because I'm somebody who makes my living from links, right? Like I'm a content creator. People don't click on my links, I'm not going to make any money, and that's going to hurt. But you have to be so careful about what links you click online. It is so important to be cautious because if you click the wrong link, it can take you to a shady website that can download malware onto your computer, which can steal your personal information or take control of your device. They might even take you to phishing sites that look legitimate but are just designed to steal your data, like your passwords and other sensitive information. On top of that, some of these links contain hidden trackers that can follow your activity across the web. It is just very dangerous, right? So as a general policy, I, as someone who uses the internet as part of my full-time job, never click on shortened links like bit.ly or any of those link shorteners. If you can't see the actual address you're clicking on, don't click it because you don't know where they're going to take you after that redirect, right? Here's some examples of some really dangerous scams that I found on Facebook just in a quick search today. You can see this one here, sites.google.com. I'm sorry, if Taco Bell is running a promotion, it's not going to go to a Google site. It's going to go to an official tacobell.com thing, right? Also, we're giving everyone a $100 Taco Bell gift card. I don't think so. They would lose so much money on that promotion. They don't need to do that. Why would they do that? You have to think critically about these things and not just take that emotional bait of excitement that they have put out there. You can also see this page isn't the official Taco Bell page. It's Taco Bell fans, and the font is all weird to make it harder for them to auto recognize. And the logo is off kilter, and it's not a verified page. And there's just so many red flags here to be cautious of. And now this one, here's another one. The Government Assistance Grant Program Department does not exist, folks. And actually, let's click over here. Yeah, because I looked at their page. They have 7 likes and 73 followers. An official government page, first of all, is going to be verified. Second of all, they're going to have way more followers. Also, they're talking about Medicare here, which implies that they're a U.S. government office, but that is not an American flag. I don't know what's going on here. This is very generic. Let's see what else we've got here. This is not a loan, but the capitalization is off. That's a little sketch. This grant program, what grant program? Be more specific. And they would be more specific if they were legit. This phone number is not a U.S. phone number. This DHHS secure links at gmail.com. Oh, no, no, no. If this was a legit government program, that would be a .gov email address, not a .com. Never, ever, ever correspond with a government office that is using a .com email address, because that is a very bad sign. .gov is way more secure. It's exclusively for the government. Anybody can register a .com. I have 35 websites that I own. They are super easy to buy. You can get them as low as 99 cents. Do not trust a .com. Anyway, I think you can see that it's pretty clear here that this is not a real thing. But then you see they have this link here. You know, it's a bit.ly link. You have no idea where that's taking you. You have no idea where that's taking you. You click that, I don't know where you're going to go, but it's coming from a page that's clearly not trustworthy. Could be very dangerous. I wouldn't do it. Now, beyond that, it's important to trust your instincts, right? If something doesn't feel right, trust your gut. Scammers, like I said, love those high-pressure tactics to get you to act quickly without thinking. Take your time to think things through before giving out your personal information or making any payments, because those consequences can be very dire. Never give out your personal information, like your social security number, bank account number, credit card number, any of that, to anyone offering a grant. If they ask for those details, run away. Now, having said that, there are programs like LIHEAP that will ask you for your social security number, but by the time they ask you for that information, when I applied for LIHEAP, I had to call, I had to schedule an appointment with the office, I had to gather all my documentation on my own, and then I had to travel with my family to the community action organization and sit with a caseworker across the desk in an official office and hand them my social security card. This was not something that I could just do when they called me out of the blue. They didn't call me out of the blue. I had a $3,000 power bill I needed to pay, and I hunted them down. So just be very, very careful. And of course, if you come across a grant scam, report it. In the United States, you can file a complaint with the FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov. This helps protect others from falling victim to the same scam. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. This is actually, I'm pretty sure we're putting this video on our second channel, so make sure to check out our main channel, which is just simply called Low Income Relief. And of course, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. I hope this video has been helpful to you. Be sure to check out our other videos for more ways that you can save money and get free stuff. I'll see you there.